Yo, what's going on, guys? Mush back at it with another video, and in this video we're going to be going over the Dragon Ball FighterZ system requirements. Yes, it's Dragon Ball FighterZ. I know some people think it's Dragon Ball FighterZ. It's Dragon Ball FighterZ, and the official system requirements have been revealed. If you guys remember, I uploaded a video a little while ago, and Bandai Namco had like tentative requirements for the game, and they were completely whack. It literally recommended a graphics card that didn't exist. So they have since updated it, and it's a lot more in line in what I would have expected from Dragon Ball FighterZ, which is a fighting game running on Unreal Engine 4. Tekken 7, another fighting game, ran on the same engine, and it performed very well on PC, and I expect FighterZ to follow in suit. And I also do want to talk about yet another milestone that Steam has reached. More on that in a little bit, but first let's go over the Dragon Ball FighterZ system requirements, which Bandai Namco revealed on Twitter. Just before I get into the system requirements themselves, this game looks absolutely awesome. Now, I am a bit of a Dragon Ball fan, but I'm not like crazy into it. Dragon Ball wasn't really the show that shaped my childhood. I have to give that to Naruto. But I did watch Dragon Ball 2. I played a couple of the Budokai games. I played Xenoverse. But I don't have that deep-rooted attachment towards Dragon Ball like some other people do. But FighterZ looks absolutely awesome. The presentation style, the slick gameplay, the stylish look, it all looks really good. And I'm really excited for the game. And fighting games is a genre that PC has been more and more delving into. You see games like BlazBlue on there, Tekken 7, Street Fighter 5, Injustice 2 just released on PC. The only issue with fighting games on PC is that sometimes the community dies rather quickly, so that is unfortunate. Hopefully with Dragon Ball FighterZ it does persist with an online community because there is a reasonable amount of hype surrounding the game. So without further ado, let's get right into the system requirements. We'll start off with the minimum CPU requirements. You're looking at an AMD FX-4350 at 4.2 GHz or an Intel Core i5-3470 at 3.2 GHz. The 3470 is a far better CPU than the FX-4350, but they are both quad-core CPUs, so I guess they're relatable in that sense. Only 4 GB of RAM minimum. That's kind of surprising. A lot of games these days will go with that 8 GB minimum, recommended to be 16. For the minimum GPU requirements, super low end. You're looking at a Radeon HD 6870 1 GB or a GeForce GTX 650 Ti 1 GB. Very old graphics cards. If you have something relatively modern, you're going to be able to run this at least at lower settings, no problem. And as you guys are going to see, the recommended GPU requirements aren't even that high either. Speaking of recommended requirements, let's move on to those. For recommended CPU requirement, you're looking at an AMD Ryzen 5 1400 3.2 GHz or an Intel Core i7 3770 3.4 GHz. Relatively high end on the Intel side. Honestly, I think if you have a decent i5, you're gonna be fine, especially if it is overclocked. I've noticed with these Bandai Namco titles that the CPU requirement on AMD and Intel side, they're far off, but because they're equal in the amount of cores they have, they'll just list them as recommended or minimum. So take that with a grain of salt. I don't think you're gonna need an i7 to run this game at top of the line performance, but yeah, that's what they have listed. Recommended RAM requirement is 8 GB of RAM. At this point, honestly, most of you guys building a gaming PC should have at least 8 GB of RAM. Ideally, you would just build a PC with 16 GB of RAM, but if your PC is a little bit more dated, you're probably sitting at 8 GB of RAM. If you built your PC in the last 3 to 4 years, you probably have 8 GB of RAM. But the fact of the matter is, with Dragon Ball FighterZ, you'll be good with 4 GB of RAM, so even older PCs than that are gonna be good. Recommended video card requirement, you're sitting at a Radeon HD 7870 2 GB or a GeForce GTX 660 2 GB. Back when these two GPUs came out, they were very popular. I remember picking up a 660 Ti. I actually have some videos of that on my channel, and I actually looked at that GPU recently. It still performs okay given the fact that it's a little bit older, and this GPU is still kicking, capable of sitting at recommended requirements for a game like Dragon Ball FighterZ. The Radeon HD 7870, from my recollection, was a little bit better than the vanilla GTX 660, but I believe the 660 Ti and the 7870 traded blows. This is so long ago, so take that information with a grain of salt, but I do remember these GPUs being very comparable. But yeah, at this point, these GPUs have to be at least 4 or 5 years old, so the fact that they're still listed as recommended requirements, that's pretty cool. The thing is this game is not a technical juggernaut. However, that slick presentation style really makes up for the fact that it doesn't reach a new technical benchmark. Sometimes all you need is cool design, and that's all it takes, even if it doesn't push hardware to its knees, and that's what you got with Dragon Ball FighterZ. At least that's what we look to have. Hopefully the port turns out well. Hopefully the game has an active community on PC, and I'm sure those of you guys that are more ardent fans of Dragon Ball, more so than me, you are absolutely stoked for the game. Me being someone that's only like mid-tier into Dragon Ball, I'm very excited for the game, so I can just imagine those of you that are super into Dragon Ball, you guys must be stoked for the game. Moving on, I also want to quickly talk about a new Steam milestone. Steam has reached 18 million concurrent users for the first time, along with 7 million users currently in-game. That's pretty cool. A lot of this comes from Chinese users playing PUBG, and that number will probably go down once PUBG gets its own Chinese client. I believe that's gonna be a thing, but still 18 million concurrent users is insane. Of those 7 million users, how many of those people are playing PUBG? Well, I believe it's around 2.7 million. So if you subtract the PUBG amount, there's still around 4.3 million people in-game. So that is a lot, and of course that is Steam only. That does not count people playing games on Battle.net, Origin. If they're playing games like League of Legends or other MMOs outside of Steam, that is just Steam, and it just shows that Valve is under no pressure to create any new games, which is kind of unfortunate because Half-Life 3, come on. But yeah, when they have that many consumers buying games all the time, and of course Valve does take a percentage of every sale on Steam. I believe what I've heard before is that it's a 70-30 split in favor of the developers, but I don't believe official numbers like that are out. All you know is that Valve is making a crap load of money, and they're under no pressure to create a new game, which, as I mentioned, is kind of unfortunate. I know we would love a Portal 3, a Left 4 Dead 3, a Half-Life 3, but it probably looks like that isn't going to be happening anytime soon. At this point, I've kind of just completely let go of any new Valve projects. I think there was a Left 4 Dead 3 rumor a couple years ago, and that never came to fruition. So yeah, at this point, I'm just completely disconnected from those Valve franchises that I want new games in, because I don't think we're gonna get them, at least not anytime soon. Maybe not in this lifetime. But that's gonna wrap up this video, guys. As always, thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts on Dragon Ball FighterZ. Is it a game you are excited for? I'm pretty sure most of you guys are, even though it is a Japanese game. I know that Dragon Ball is something that hits home with so many people, and a lot of people can disconnect themselves from not liking Japanese games. Dragon Ball, after all. Let me know your thoughts on Steam hitting 18 million concurrent users along with 7 million users in-game. That's a pretty staggering number, and again, it only represents Steam and not any other platforms. If you have any requests for future videos, you can leave that in the comment section as well, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.